many people said, hey, you know, I think mine went really pretty well? Can you tell us a little bit about what do you think helped and facilitated you and enabled you to do well? And tell me your name, please. Solana, yes, thank you. When people move, I
guess the person felt, or they seemed to feel comfortable answering
first of all, where did you meet them? Did you meet them in the room? Or
at my apartment.
Your apartment, okay.
Yeah. So we sat down at a table, and it was just kind of relaxed and just comfortable. I think that at first they felt a little uncomfortable being like asked questions.
Yes.
But after a while, because it took a while for them, and they actually ended up having a lot to say, they started feeling more and more comfortable as they began to talk more. I don't know. I think it was just basically their comfort level that made it.
Yeah. What was the product, or what was the issue you're looking at?
Their favorite product was Coronas.
So you're looking at you're a champion of beer. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Do you think it would have worked as well if somebody says, you know, I really like a lot of imported beer. I like Heineken, I like Corona. I think I like Corona a little bit better. Do you think you would have had as much success?
Probably not. This person was like dead set on Coronas, like that's all they drink for beer.
People had the problem with they chose somebody, but the person wasn't really that much of a champion. Did anybody have that much of a problem? When you do that, there's almost no way you can recover, because the person says, you know, I think I like Diet Coke a little bit better than Diet Pepsi. Yeah, I think so. Then when you start digging down, well, there's really no connections that person would have as to why they did, because they really don't. Okay. But the thing about looking at fanatics, the thing about looking at whacked out champions, is they are not representative at all of the rest of the population. Okay? But you're not looking for a representative sample. Okay? Just like with Aquavelva, we weren't looking for a representative sample, because a representative sample would say, I hate this stuff. What you're looking for is insights. And those insights you can find by essentially targeting a champion. Because this champion, if we had a magical multiplier machine, the champion is what we'd like to turn everybody in the world into. Someone you believe, just like that person did. But before we can actually start to do that, we need to understand how that person thinks in the first place. Now, who else let's say, who had kind of a rough start when they got going with their laddering? And what did you do to kind of recover and regroup after that? Yeah, tell us.
About Kleenex in my own, in our apartment, and she didn't really have much to say about it, and she was kind of almost uncomfortable because it was too quiet, and then I did it again with a different friend, and it was in a very quiet setting, almost like a library, but it was a public space, and she was much more champion for the product, and it went a lot better.
Very good. So the first person you talked to, it didn't work because she wasn't really that much of a champion. The second person was, and you actually found a kind of a quiet space where she could focus and very.
I feel too vulnerable because there were other people, but it was quiet. So.
Okay. Who else did something, hit a sticking point at one point, and what did you do to recover from that?
I was doing my one housemate. She was obsessed with Taco Bell, and I took any.
I love it too.
Yeah,
Taco Bell.
Right. She just keeps saying, "Well, I like it because it tastes good," and I couldn't really get that. So she's mentioned to me before out of the conference being reviewed.
Could you just speak up just a little bit more? She said she really liked Taco Bell, and when you'd ask her, she'd just say, I don't know, I just like it, I just like it, I just like it. You're interviewing me, and I love Taco Bell, and you say, well, what do you like? I go, oh yeah, I just really, really like the taste. It tastes really good. What would you say after that? Because what is taste good? Is that an attribute? Is that a consequence? Is that a value? Yeah, it's just an attribute. I mean, you're just getting started. You know, so if they say, yeah, it just tastes good, you kind of go, okay, well, my work's done here. You'd really be cutting things short. So I go, I don't know, I just really like the taste. What question would you ask me next to try to jump me out of that? Yeah.
Well, that happened to me very much too. I was got stuck in attributes, so I asked things like, what was the first time you used the product, and why, and who you with.
Okay, great. So she'd say, well, when's the first time I ate Taco Bell? What else could you do with taste? Yeah.
person's like the best, and like why would someone else like talk about? Let's see if maybe you could uncover something else.
Okay, yeah, that's great to go over to the third person. What else?
Or what about the taste that you like?
Yeah, what specifically about the taste is it that you like? What would you want to ask?
You order like one thing usually, or you spread it out to different everything.
Okay, and then you could say, well, I usually order the soft tacos, al fresca, but sometimes I get the burritos. And you say, what do you like about the taste of the tacos versus the burritos? Excellent, excellent. What else?
You can also kind of like ask what else tastes good to that person, and like why do you want this?
Excellent, outstanding. So you could say, well, you usually like this. What else do you get? Why do you like this more than that? Because you're trying to get at what the differences are. And it's not that they're trying to stonewall you. It's just that most of us don't really even think about that until we're really probed. Okay. Very good. Who else ran into a really difficult time during their interview? Because what we're going to do is we're going to try to solve that. Yeah.
During my interview, it got a little too sensitive, the topic. So my interviewee kind of hesitated to answer a few questions that were just simple why questions.
Okay, was it a uncomfortable product or?
No, my interviewee is a champion for TED Talks.
Oh yeah. Okay, good. So she said one time he got really sensitive or got kind of personal during his talk about TED Talks. But what can you do when you kind of hit that real sensitive point and the person starts going? What can you do? What would be a strategy you might do? Yeah.
I would come back to that topic because I encountered something similar in my
Outstanding. Yeah. You give them a break. Yeah.
Deflect them to something else or use your experience. Oh yeah, I kind of feel that way too sometimes, and you know.
Oh, very, very perfect. And you can even say, do you think there are other people who might feel similarly about this as you do? And if they say, yeah, I can see that because blah, 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 all of a sudden they start projecting on someone else. Excellent ideas. Did anybody run into something where it's just the whole thing was a disaster? I know you had a couple experiences, didn't you, Christina?
I was excited about interviewing one of the 3 people that go to our school board meetings because I wanted to get more people to come, and I couldn't get the woman that I interviewed to get past, like, well, it's socially responsible of me to, and that's all she kept saying. It was like I'd been there for an hour and a half, and that's as far as.
But the whole purpose of doing this is not just to come up with great insights. Great insights are the means to an end, and the end is to come up with implications. The marketing mix implications of how then you use this. The problem without doing something like laddering is people just generally don't come up with any insights at all, and they end up doing something really crazy like saying, cut price and advertise in the Super Bowl. We're going to stay away from that. Now, something that I mentioned, whenever you ladder people, this is a specific person, we're going to be getting into a tool that you're going to learn how to do next Wednesday, a week from today, which is called prototyping. And there it's going to be extremely important, though, that you always associate a name with a prototype. And we'll go over that in 2 days. Now we're going to look at an example here. And this is an example of something that the group I was associated with a number of years ago did a big consulting project with Bank One. And are you familiar with Bank One? Has anybody ever heard of it before? What do you know about it? Anything? Yeah, it's now Chase Bank. Anything else you know about it? Yeah, it's originally from Cleveland, Ohio. Then it got bought and moved its headquarters to Chicago. And it was an interesting situation because back in the mid-90s, it had a really unusual strategy for growth, for one part of its growth. And that during the mid-90s, a lot of these really small town banks, like the small community banks, were going out of business. And its strategy was to go into really small little towns and buy up these failing banks and essentially grow their network that way. Now, how many people are from small towns? Let's say towns under 100,000. How many people are from towns like under 30,000? Wow. Okay. That's the sort of town that they'd be going into. Tell me your town. It's called Little Silver, New Jersey. Somebody else had their hand up?
Hampton, Massachusetts.
Hampton?
Yeah.
Hampton, Massachusetts, okay.
East Windsor, Connecticut.
Okay, very good. I'm sorry? Culver? Culver? Where's that at?
Like an hour south of South Bend.
Okay, you said you're from South Bend. You're just going to, the other day, you're just kind of giving the... Oh, you're from South Bend. Okay. So what happened is they'd go into these small little towns and they'd buy up the banks. But the problem is that here you have this big city bank. Back then they were headquartered in Chicago, going in and swallowing up this little hometown bank. And the big concern of the people running Bank One was whether they could make that transition to be successful in that country. Because it could very easily be that everybody who had been in that bank before saw this big city bank come in and then said, hey, there's no way I'm going to keep putting my money here because I'm not going to put it with a big city bank. And so one of the things they did was they had this group I was with do a whole lot of laddering interviews, okay? And these are laddering interviews of all these consumers essentially looking at what would it take for this bank to be successful. And these were champions. These were people who had maybe not a lot of money, but a significant amount of money in these small town banks. Now, if you picture, if you will, about 7 or 8 of these big ladders. And these ladders are an aggregate of I think, over 80 people. Okay? And that what they did is they found 80 people in these small towns, sat down, interviewed them, and took everything she said, and everything she said, and they mapped these things together in this big sort of Vulcan mind meld. Okay?